Hello and welcome. My name's Catherine and this is my creative tutorial how to felt a bird pod just like these ones here. These pods are cute, colourful, eco-friendly and a great little holiday retreat for the birds at the bottom of your garden. This tutorial is suitable for all abilities and all ages, although kids might need a bit of a helping hand. It's a bit like papier-mâché but with wool fibres, so it's really fun. You can do this tutorial by yourself at home with no other help. However, if there is somebody else around, it might be handy if you're struggling to handle a balloon. It can get a little bit slippy. For materials and equipment, there is a bunch of stuff you're going to need and most of it you'll probably have at home. I'll go through a complete list in a second and you can go and check your cupboard, see what you've got. There will be some specialist things in there such as the merino wool fibre that you need to make the pod, which you probably won't have at home. As always, I sell kits in my Etsy shop. You can go there, you can visit, buy a kit and you'll have everything you need in there. And that's what I'll be using today. I'll be using one of my own kits to complete this tutorial. It is going to take around an hour. It'll take you around an hour to do this project. I'm going to do that within that hour, but when I come to editing, I'm going to crop, I'm going to speed up. You don't have to sit there watching me do something for say 10 minutes. It'll be very boring, but there'll be a title, some wording that will come on the screen and it'll let you know that you need to do this for 10 minutes, you need to do this for 15 minutes, and that'll give you the opportunity to use the pause button or the stop button so you can continue that in the background and then just continue with the tutorial when you're ready. I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Let's get started. So now I'm going to talk about the kit, the materials and equipment, everything that you need to make this lovely pod here. You can see it's a little bit like a squashed raisin, a squashed peanut, very organic, really beautiful, or like a pebble, a stone. So this is what we're going to aim to make today. So if I was to pull out one of my kits and see what's in there, this is what I'd find. If you've not got my kit, you need to have these items from elsewhere with you ready. First thing is 3 balloons. And I'll explain as we go why you need 3, but they just need to be 3 and they need to be the same size. The other thing is the wool fibre. And this is a home blend of merino. It's a British wool, I think it's a Welsh wool. It depends what I've got at the time, to be honest. But yeah, the British wool is a lot coarser, a lot firmer. It doesn't felt quite as easily as the merino, which is soft and luxurious, but for that reason it'll help give structure to the end result because you need it to hold its shape quite well. You don't want it to sort of cave in and collapse. So for that reason I blend the British wool, the harsh wool that's come from animals that are in cooler climates, with the gorgeous luxurious colours of the merino wool. And you'll need about 30 grams of this. And you can see I blend these at home on my drum carder. It's a really therapeutic process. I love doing it. Okay, other things in my kit that you'll have, or without my kit you'll need to find, are 60 centimetres of garden twine or string. It's to string the pod up in the garden. So if it's a garden twine, obviously it's made for external use, so it's going to be quite hard wearing and it'll be okay in the weather. Another thing in my kit is 3 individually cut 1 metre lengths of natural yarn, and this is going to provide the decoration on the surface of the pod. I'm hoping you can see some of that lovely decoration there, really natural, almost like veins in marble or organic veins of a leaf. And the different yarns, I mean, I'll be giving in my kits whatever I've got at the time, but usually it'll be a mohair blend, boucle yarn and some sort of hairy mohair yarn that's maybe got some silk in it. If you're finding these yarns yourself, just be careful and make sure you don't pick up a polyester, something that's synthetic, because they won't stick to the surface. You absolutely need something that's at least 80%. Very often you can get wools from shops and it'll say on the label 20% acrylic, 80% alpaca. That's fine. You can use those as long as it's no more than 20% that's acrylic. That's it for my kit. So other things that you'll need to have ready are access to a sink, and you can see I'm working on this kind of floorboard here that I don't mind getting damp. Ideally, you should be working on a surface that you don't mind it getting wet, you don't mind it getting damp. You will need to go to the sink probably 2, maybe 3 times in this tutorial because it gets so soapy that you will need to run it under warm running water to get all the soap out. Using one of these washing up bowls by itself isn't going to be enough, so make sure you have got easy access to a sink. But you can sit down and do this activity. Don't think you need to be stood up the whole time. You absolutely can sit down. Okay, you will also make use of a washing up bowl. Don't worry if you've not got it, but if you have, pull it out and you'll see why that's going to be useful as you go along. Another thing I use that you need is a jug, any old jug, nothing special about this jug, with a household sponge. If you've not got one of these for whatever reason, most people have, but if you've not, just use a bathroom sponge, doesn't matter. And failing that, just use a dishcloth. It's anything that's going to help you add water onto the balloon as we're working with it. An old plastic bottle, and just use a nail and punch some holes in the lid, and that's going to work as kind of like a sprinkler system, and you might find that helpful. If you've been doing any wet felt making at all in the past, you'll already have something like that. Regular home hand soap, you'll need that. Ideally one that's got one of these pump tops on it, pump lids, so that you can be holding your balloon and pumping soap into your hand at the same time. A couple of, I'd say, hand towels. They can be old or they can be new. They don't have to be, you know, old. They're not going to get dirty. They're just going to get damp, so you can chuck them in the wash afterwards. And another thing I've found completely invaluable is a face flannel. If you've not got an old face flannel, then just get an old towel and chop it up. Just the fact that it's this smaller kind of A4 size, you're going to find really useful as you're working, because it's really easy, a lot easier than a hand towel, to wring out and then carry on working with it. A bit like a blotting tool. A pair of scissors you're going to need at some point, so have them handy, and some sellotape, also gonna be needing that. A few other optional items that you may need. If you've got them, pull them out. I always have a balloon pump with me. Lots of people on my classes, phobias, or they just don't enjoy pumping balloons up, so I have one of those in my kit. A metal spoon, we're going to be using that towards the end. If you've got one of those, I think you will have, pull that out. A bradawl, or a tailor's awl, it's sometimes called, but it's just a tool, a handle with a pokey metal pointy bit on the end. If you've not got one of those, you could use a kebab stick, or even a wooden cocktail stick is also fine too. So that's all of the kit. Only one other thing to mention that you could use towards the end, which is a hairdryer. You can allow the pod to dry naturally when you finish making it, but sometimes people are so anxious to see what it looks like, they'll just blast it with the hairdryer. So if you have got one, pull that out too. All right, and now we're gonna begin.